My wife wanted one thing, just one thing in her entire life that was only for her. She wanted to see Paris. And for 47 years, I told her the same two words. Next year. I want you to sit with that for a moment. 47 years of next year. She died at 71. She never saw it. And I am standing here at 77, trying to explain to you a pain that I don't think the English language has a word for. So before I go any further, let me tell you why I'm telling you this. Because right now, someone you love is waiting for you to keep a promise. And you're doing the exact same thing I did. You're saying next year. But here's what I didn't understand until it was too late. Next year is not a plan. It's a lie you tell the people you love to keep them quiet. I met my wife when I was 23 years old. She was standing outside a bookshop in the rain, holding a paperback over her head like an umbrella. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I walked over and offered her mine. A real umbrella. She looked at me and said, "But then you'll get wet." And I remember thinking, this woman cares about a stranger getting rained on. That's the kind of person she was. We married 2 years later. Small wedding. Her mother made the cake. My brother played guitar badly. It was perfect. And on our honeymoon, she bought a little postcard of the Eiffel Tower from a gift shop. She stuck it on our refrigerator with a magnet that said, "Someday." That postcard stayed on that refrigerator for 47 years. 47 years. The edges turned yellow. The magnet got rusty. But she never took it down. Every few months, she'd look at it while pouring her morning coffee and say, "Maybe this year?" And every time I had a reason, a good reason. We can't afford it. The kids need braces. The car needs a new transmission. I just started a new position at work. The timing isn't right. You want to know something that keeps me up at night? The timing was always right. I just couldn't see it. But here's where I failed her in a way I didn't even recognize until she was gone. It wasn't just Paris. Paris was a symbol. What she was really asking for every single time she looked at that postcard was for me to say, "You matter more than the excuse." That's all she wanted. And I never said it. Not once in 47 years. I told myself I was being responsible. I told myself I was being practical. But you know what I was really being? I was being a coward. Because that trip scared me. Not the money, not the planes. It scared me because it meant stepping outside the routine. And I had built my entire life inside that routine. Wake up, go to work, come home, watch the news, go to bed, repeat, for decades. I was comfortable. Therefore, anything that threatened that comfort felt dangerous. But comfort is not the same as happiness. I want you to hear that. You might think you have time. That's exactly what I thought at your age. You think you're building something, a career, a savings account, a safe little life. But what you're really building is a cage. And the person you love most is sitting inside it with you, waiting for you to open the door. And one day, they stop asking. My wife stopped asking about Paris sometime around our 40th anniversary. I didn't even notice. Isn't that the worst part? She gave up on her dream so quietly that I didn't even hear it happen. She just stopped looking at that postcard. She stopped saying maybe this year. She stopped bringing home travel magazines from the doctor's office. And I told myself that meant she was fine with it, that she'd moved on. But she hadn't moved on, she'd given up. There's a difference, and I was too comfortable to see it. You know what she did do? She started watching travel shows late at night. I'd come downstairs at midnight and find her on the couch, watching some program about Paris. The volume turned way down so she wouldn't wake me, the television light flickering on her face, a cup of tea going cold on the table beside her. She was visiting the only way I'd let her, through a screen, and I walked past her. I walked past that scene 100 times and never once sat down beside her and said, "Let's just go." But that wasn't the hardest pill to swallow. The hardest part came on a Tuesday afternoon in March. The doctor said the word cancer, and just like that, everything I'd been protecting, all that comfort, all that routine, it meant nothing. You spend your whole life building walls to keep out risk, but risk doesn't knock on the door. It's already inside the house. It was already in her body. For the next 14 months, I watched the strongest woman I'd ever known become someone I barely recognized. Her hands got so thin I could see every bone. She lost her hair. She lost 30 pounds. But she never lost that look in her eyes. The one I first saw outside the bookshop, standing in the rain. Even in that hospital bed, with tubes in her arms, she had that look, like she still cared about the stranger getting wet. One night, about 3 weeks before the end, she reached over and took my hand. Her skin was like paper, and she said something I will never forget. She said, "I would have loved to see it just once." She didn't say Paris. She didn't need to. I knew. I held her hand and I nodded because I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. What do you say to someone you failed for 47 years? What words fix that? None. There are none. She passed on a Thursday morning. It was raining. I remember standing at the window of her hospital room, looking at the parking lot filling up with puddles, and thinking she would have held a book over her head. That's who she was. Even at the end, she was the woman in the rain. After the funeral, I went home to an empty house, and the first thing I saw when I walked into the kitchen was that postcard, still on the refrigerator. Someday, the magnet was barely holding it. I stood there for 11 minutes. I know because the kitchen clock was the only sound in the house, ticking. 11 minutes of staring at a faded picture of a tower my wife never got to see. And I made a decision. I pulled that postcard off the refrigerator. I put it in my coat pocket, and I booked a flight to Paris. I went alone, 76 years old. First time on an airplane in 15 years. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. I walked along the river. I sat in a small cafe and ordered coffee I couldn't pronounce. I watched people hold hands on bridges, young couples, old couples, families. Everyone was with someone. And then I found a bench. A simple wooden bench in a park near the Eiffel Tower. And I sat down and I took that postcard out of my pocket and I held it up against the real thing. The real tower right there in front of me, golden in the late afternoon light. And I cried. I cried in a way I hadn't cried since I was a child. Not quiet crying. The kind where your whole body shakes and you can't stop and strangers look away because they don't know what to do. I sat on that bench for 2 hours, an old man, alone, holding a yellow postcard, weeping in Paris. And do you know what I kept thinking? I kept thinking, she should be here. She should be sitting right next to me. She should be the one holding this postcard up and laughing and saying, "We finally did it." But she wasn't. Because of me. Because I said next year 47 times instead of saying yes just once. So here's what I need you to understand. I'm not telling you this story so you feel sorry for me. I don't want your action. I need you to hear me. Whatever promise you've been postponing, that trip, that conversation, that moment you keep putting off with someone you love, stop waiting. Stop saying next year. Stop saying when the kids are older. Stop saying when we have more money. Stop saying when things calm down. Things never calm down. Life doesn't slow down for your plans. It just keeps moving until one day a doctor says a word that changes everything. And suddenly all those reasons you had, all those excuses, they sound so stupid. They sound like nothing, because they are nothing. The only thing that was ever something was her, and I missed it. For 47 years, I had the most important thing in the world sitting right across from me at the kitchen table, looking at a postcard asking me for one thing. And I said no. 100 different ways I said no. You don't realize how short life is until you start running out of ordinary days. The days where she pours coffee and looks at that postcard and you have the chance to say, "Let's go." Those ordinary days, they were everything. And I wasted them. If you're watching this, please go home tonight and look at the person you love. Really look at them and ask them, "What's your Paris?" Whatever they say, do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time was yesterday. The second best time is right now. I'm 77 years old. I can't get those years back. I can't give my wife her dream. But maybe if even one of you hears this and picks up the phone and books that trip or says those words or keeps that promise, then maybe her postcard meant something. Maybe she's not the only one who never got to go. Maybe she's the reason you did. That postcard is still in my coat pocket. I carry it everywhere, not because it reminds me of Paris, because it reminds me of her, standing in the rain, holding a book over her head, caring about a stranger. She deserved the world. I gave her next year. Don't you dare make the same mistake I did.